Hello, Hidden Well Farms. It's good to see everybody. We are out here at one of our rabbit tractors that we built. It's a shelter. I've showed it to you in pictures and stuff. And now that we have it up and operational and we've used it for quite a bit, I think it's time for a review. What we like and what we don't like, okay? So I'm going to turn it over to the industrious, lustrous, and most beautiful Miss Sue. Hello, Miss Sue.
Hello, this is our rabbit tractor.
If you'll look right here, you see this tall grass? Beautiful spring grass. And if you look back here, you can tell where we've moved it here, all the way down to there, and then all the way back. And now this is on some new ground right here, okay?
I'm also fighting my hair. So, we like having latches, but when the rabbit tractor gets moved, the door shifts. So having a very specific hole on your latch makes it extremely tricky to do and undo. Now we also have one on the inside because when you go in, it swings open, so it's good to have a latch on the inside, but of course the same problem exists. If you move the rabbit tractor or it gets wet or whatever, it shifts just enough to make you aggravated that you can't get it in the hole. Now, Caton's strong enough to do it. I'm not. He just like picks the whole door up. So if you're strong, go for it. Do this kind of latch. But if you're like me, get something a little bit more forgiving. The rabbits love to have places to hide. They get scared very easily. So the pallet is less useful for hiding as much as it is to get them out of the rain. You've already escaped today. You can go back in. Thank you. So the bucket in there is more for a hidey hole. It's very secure. We had it with the hole turned out this direction, but they weren't using it as much. Now that it's turned around the other direction, when they feel like they're completely secure, they use it better when it's on the other end. But as far as the construction of this tractor, I was really afraid it was going to blow away when the other things on the farm blew away. But having it in this little cove has kept it a little bit more secure. But it did pick it up still with all of... There are no holes for to keep the rain out, but when you have no holes, it does keep the wind in. So it actually lifted the tractor up and set it down on one of these boards, and we lost some rabbits to escapism. And just today we had to chase two of these little boogers because we hadn't moved the tractor. Did the tractor get moved yesterday?
Not yesterday. I think it was Wednesday that we moved it last.
So since it didn't get moved, they got bored and dug up underneath one of the corners enough for the babies to escape. Mom was, of course, too big to escape, but we had Fievel and one of the white ones escaped and got ticks, so we had a tick problem there. Yeah, watch out now.
We treated the entire rabbit tractor. We put Revolution on them for the ticks and stuff, and we pulled several out of their ears, and they were new. They weren't engorged, so they picked them up where they escaped and got up into the woods more than anything.
Yes.
So talk about the ease of moving the tractor.
Well, we've moved it both with the four-wheeler by just hooking this rope onto the back of the four-wheeler, and we've moved it by hand, and it can be done with two people by hand. You probably could do it by yourself, but I'm definitely not strong enough. I can barely help you do it by myself. So there we go. He's gonna see. He can just lift the door. I can't do that. I've got wimpy girl hands, but you don't.
The ease of moving this tractor was not as easy as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a lot easier to move. And three problems that we most certainly have run into with moving it is the rabbits like to get in the corners when you're moving it. So the very first time we moved it, I trapped a rabbit under a corner. We had to pick it up and get the rabbit out. They don't learn. So every time you move it, you have to go a little bit slower because it's actually on the ground, okay? It's heavier than what you could imagine. Now, we are modifying this design for our turkeys that we have, and it hopefully will weigh about 300 pounds less. I could not physically, and I'm a stout, strong man, but I could not physically pick this tractor up, even if I wanted to. It's way too heavy for me. Good to anchor it, but it makes it more difficult to move. And me by myself, if I've had a really good day and my knees aren't bothering me and I give it everything I got, I can move this tractor. But typically I need assistance or I need mechanical to help me move it. Now Tyler can get inside. He's a lot stronger than I am at this point in our lives, and he can push up on the top and he can move it by himself, but again, he has to go slow, and I'm sure he would testify. And then the third thing about it is that it's very rigid, so for ground that is not absolutely flat, after you move it to a new spot, you've got one part that's this high off the ground and one part that's just right on the ground, and it's very rigid. I mean, it is so solid. So what we've had to do is we've had to come and get some extra boards. Shouldn't have to do that if you got a good rabbit tractor design, but we've got extra boards that we put around into places where it's sticking off the ground just a little bit to discourage and dissuade them from moving it and digging underneath and escaping.
If they see daylight, they see something interesting, and they will just dig until they have a hole.
This tarp was really not the right size tarp for this, but we already had this tarp and we'd already bought it, and so this was our first attempt at this particular type of rabbit tractor. But I will tell you this, if you're an avid outdoor camper and you have a place or a farm and you like to stay outside like in a tent and stuff like that, I mean seriously, building one of these things for your own personal use that you can get in at night, it won't keep the mosquitoes out, but it definitely keep the dew and the rain off of you. And you could go in there and you could line it with a mesh or something of that nature to keep most of the bugs and the mosquitoes and stuff out. And man, you'd have an awesome outdoor staying place if you wanted to. You could really make some versatility, different uses, just to store hay in. We're going to actually build one to store hay in at our rabbit tree and keep it dry and things of that nature. I suppose you could put a bottom on it of some type, but man, if you put a bottom on it, I just think it's going to be so much harder to even consider moving it at that point. And then when you move it, you got more places for the rabbits to get stuck under. So I don't know the solution to that. I know there are so many different rabbit tractor designs out there. This one actually came with a design from the University of Kentucky. It was free for the download, and that's where we got the idea from.
We did modify it though.
We made it a little bit bigger than what it called for. The specs on it was a 10 by 10, and we made it a 10 by 12, and it gave us another 120 feet of space on the floor, right?
And you did that just by making
an extra 20 feet, excuse me.
My finger. This board is the 12-foot board, right?
Right.
So you lost what, 6 inches of height?
About that, that's correct.
Yeah. But it still stayed really nice and curved, and you can still get in there really easily. It wasn't a huge deal to lose that, and it made so much more room for the rabbits.
Absolutely, for that part. And another good thing about this rabbit tractor that I do like with the open thing is they're fertilizing this ground. This right over here, not being the best fertilized soil in the world and the spring growth, this everywhere they go, they're leaving rabbit droppings and a little bit of food. And
this over here is where they started, isn't it?
Really, yeah, started right there. They're really working the ground, and having their doo-doo on it is definitely going to improve the soil and things of that nature. as time goes on, and so it's aerated out, and they eat anything and everything. I mean, they are pasture scavengers. I mean, they eat the junk, and so all in all, I don't know if you agree with me or not on this, Miss Susan, but all in all, I give it a B.
I give it a B+. It's plenty of room, and you can still get in there and do what you need to do. It's really the mobility of it. It's the big drawback, I think.
Okay.
But part of the mobility problem that we have is that our land is not flat. We're in Kentucky. If you had this kind of a tractor in maybe Illinois...
No. Susan is not a Kentucky girl, okay? So we are in southeastern Appalachia, Kentucky. Now,
what? There's flat land in Kentucky somewhere?
If you go to Lexington or Western Kentucky, where it looks more like Illinois and Iowa, I think this would probably be fantastic. It'd get an A- to an A there. But here in the hills of Kentucky, it has some limitations.
And it's what, 2 cattle panels?
2 cattle panels.
Chicken wire.
I think there are 6 2x4s, a couple of 1x1s. Most certainly can leave a link to the specs.
Yeah.
I still have that link in my thing, and it's free to download. You don't have there's no copyright on it, so if you want to look at it. But now, as far as chickens and turkeys and stuff, I think it definitely will be the bomb.
Well, and you wouldn't have to have the whole thing covered, especially with turkeys. They like the sunshine. So if you just had the back half even covered to keep it dry when it rains, it'll really reduce the weight too, I believe.
I believe so too. Yep.
All
right. Well, that's our little review. Anything else you want to add, Miss Sue?
No, I really thank Tyler for building that, because I just never would have actually gotten it done.
Tyler is amazing.
Yes, he is.
He's absolutely amazing. He could build anything.
Yep. He's got, what, 2 more in the works up there for the sheep?
Well, he got the sheep one done already.
Well, what's the one that's outside the sheep pen?
That's the one he's building for the turkeys.
Oh, my turkeys. I love my turkeys.
Okay, this is what the rabbit tractor looks like for... Well, I should say it's not the rabbit tractor, it's the sheep shelter. We kind of modified it a little bit, you can see, with the open ends, but gives them something to get out of the sun and out of the rain and stuff with. And this is what it looks like. Naked. We also don't have the inside frames and stuff built on this just yet, but you can see how it runs with the ridges and stuff down through here. It's a very unique, very awesome design, and it's I can't tell you exactly, but I think screws and everything you'll have between $85 and $120 in each one. I think you can build them less expensively. I'm just kind of giving you off the top of my head figures. The panels are $20 a piece. I used to be able to get them at Rural King for $9 a piece, but now they're $20. I don't know what happened, but
Transportation costs.
anyway. But say hi, sheep.
I think they're $70 in Canada.
$70 in Canada. Wow.